Same clip ready. We need it for the second.
4.
Facts from the Clarendon correspondent coming through. No.
3.
All the international stories in the folder. Good to
2.
Newsreaders all set.
Yeah, man, everything set, everything ready.
1. From the grid to Morant Point, News Talk 93 FM has got it covered. Across the 7 seas to the 4 corners of the world, it's all captured on the 93 radar. 93.1, 93.3, 93.5, 93.7 and 93.9 on your FM dial. Real News at 5 starts now.
Time for the 5 o'clock news roundup here on News Talk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Coming up in this newscast, Office of the Prime Minister sets up new framework for the Office of Utilities Regulation to avoid legal challenge.
Opposition senators stay away from today's sitting of the Upper House debate on the CCJ.
Independent Commission of Investigations investigating death of motorcyclists following collision with police service vehicle in Negril.
And National Youth Service NYS says new summer program to provide more opportunities for youth.
And now the details. The Office of the Prime Minister today announced that it was forced to set up a new governance framework for the Office of Utilities Regulation, the OUR, to avoid a possible legal challenge before the International Centre for Settlement of Investment Disputes, ICSID. The OUR Amendment Act was passed in the House of Representatives on October 13 and in the Senate last Friday. However, the OUR has argued that the changes could undermine its independence. Minister with Responsibility for Information, Senator Sandria Faulkner, says the changes arose out of concerns by investors about a perceived lack of objectivity in the OUR's governance and decision-making. She says as a result of these concerns and the threat of a legal challenge, a best practice examination of the legal and regulatory framework of the OUR was carried out. Faulkner says the World Bank helped to conduct this electricity license and regulatory best practices framework study.
Meanwhile, the Jamaica Public Service, the JPS, said certain rulings by the OUR were threatening its financial viability. The JPS expressed this concern earlier this year, chief among them being a directive from the OUR that the rates charged for electricity should be reduced. The JPS had been depending on receiving a rate increase to satisfy financial backers for construction of the Bogue Power Station in Montego Bay, St. James. Meanwhile, the government is disputing claims by the OUR that it was not informed about the contents of the newly passed OUR Amendment Act. The Minister with Responsibility for Information, Sandria Faulkner, says a copy of the World Bank report was provided to all stakeholders, including the OUR, in June. Faulkner also argues that the recent amendments do not in any way discourage or prevent further adjustment to the OUR Act, as may be warranted in the near future.
The Jamaica Labour Party opposition senators stayed away from today's sitting of the Senate, where the debate on the Caribbean Court of Justice should have continued. Opposition and government senators have been at odds since the suspension of Opposition Senator Marlene Malahoo Ford last Friday after she failed to produce a copy of a letter from which she read during her contribution to the debate. On Monday, Leader of Opposition Business Tom Tavares Finson wrote to Senate President Floyd Morris, stating that his colleagues would stay away from the debate until the suspension is lifted, and an apology made to Malahoo Ford. This morning, the 8 opposition senators followed through on the threat. However, the sitting still went ahead with Morris insisting there was no need to apologize to Malahoo Ford. However, Leader of Government Business Senator A.J. Nicholson moved a motion for the suspension to be lifted to ensure the debate on the CCJ bills continues. Contributing to the debate, Senator Knight, K.D. Knight, said he hoped senators would put the nation before self and continue the debate.
Housing Minister Dr. Omar Davies says his ministry has taken steps to address the financial problem at the Housing Agency of Jamaica. This comes after an audit uncovered multiple instances of troubling financial irregularities at the state-run entity.
The board has taken steps to address the financial situation through instituting a number of measures, such as reducing operational expenses, completing unfinished projects within their financial capability, exercising tighter management of cash flow, and negotiating payment plans for outstanding monies owed to contractors.
Despite this problem, Dr. Davies is assuring potential homeowners that there has been a drastic reduction in the spending policy of the HAJ as another way of addressing the financial problems.
I've been advised that the outstanding trade and other payables at March 2013 was $1,169 million. This total has been reduced by $330 million over the period March 2013, September 2015.
Minister of Housing and Works Dr. Omar Davies, he was speaking in Parliament on Tuesday during a line of questioning from opposition member of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee PAAC of Parliament Audley Shaw at Gordon House last week. HAJ Managing Director Carl Bennett conceded that some $45 million had been used from the agency's deposit account without authorization.
Meanwhile, Dr. Davis says the HAJ is currently focusing on completing several projects as it pursues its land and housing development for potential homeowners.
And I appointed a new board in March 2014. My instruction to the new board then was to stabilize the finances of the agency and to focus on completing existing projects feasible. In keeping with my instructions, I've been advised that the HAJ is focusing on completing 3 projects. A, the Jamaica Economic Housing Project, which is now 90% complete. B, the Hills of Boscobel, which is 98% complete. And C, Whitehall, which is 95% complete. These projects have been in the pipeline for the last 5 years.
He also expressed concern about a possible audit query that has been exposed to the public.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is concerned about the audit queries regarding possible breaches which are now in the public domain. It is important for the public to know that the first of the audits is one conducted by my ministry's internal audit department. In other words, Mr. Speaker, we in the ministry were proactive. We aren't reacting to any other revelations.
Housing and Works Minister Dr. Omar Davies.
A senior police officer provided evidence that seemed to contradict aspects of the testimony given by a top military commander before the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry. Superintendent Warren Turner testified this morning that he and his team of about 80 police personnel were called into Tivoli Gardens by Lieutenant Colonel Marlon Kennedy shortly after 8 o'clock on the night of May 24, 2010. Kennedy told the Commission last week that Turner and his team were called in just before 5 o'clock on May 24. However, Turner insisted that he did not get a call from Kennedy until 8:05 and got into the West Kingston community at around 8:20 in the evening. The senior cop said he was sure because he made a note in his book.
Meanwhile, Turner testified that his men came under intense gunfire while heading towards Tivoli Gardens along Marcus Garvey Drive. He said gunshots came from an abandoned building near the Marine Police headquarters. He said from the sound of things it could have been up to 50 men firing with rifles and bullets kept flying over the heads of his team. Turner, who is on pre-retirement leave, said he and his men were unable to return the fire because all they could see were muzzle flashes coming from the building. He said he instructed personnel from the Marine Police to give cover, which they did, firing into the abandoned building, which caused the hostile fire to cease. The men stayed at the Marine Police headquarters until Major Kennedy of the JDF informed him that it was safe to enter Tivoli Gardens.
The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM, is investigating the death of a motorcyclist following a collision with a police service vehicle in Negril, Westmoreland yesterday. The dead man has been identified as 26-year-old Novel McInnes of Red Ground in Negril. Residents in the area blocked the road in front of the Negril police station and the bus park and staged a massive demonstration shortly after the incident. According to a release from Indicom, the people have given an account which conflicts with the police reports that McInnes was attempting to overtake a police service vehicle when he lost control of the motorcycle he was driving and collided with a police vehicle. The 2 police officers involved in the incident have been served with notices to provide statements on their account of the incident. The Commission also informed in its release that after it was notified of the incident by police at 10:15 a.m., a team of its investigators and forensic examiners visited the area and processed the scene, as well as the body of the deceased. Indicom says it aims to determine if any action of the police officers led to the death of McInnes.
You're listening to news on News Talk 93 FM. It's 11.5 after 5. Police in Manchester have given residents Vincent Coleman and Marshall Small until today to report to the Mandeville Police Station as part of a probe into the contract killing of Mr. Coleman's 62-year-old wife, Norma. Norma Coleman was shot dead on Confidence Avenue in Mandeville last Friday. 2 policemen and 2 other men implicated in the murder have already been arrested. The police say preliminary investigations indicate that Coleman's murder involves a person or persons closely associated with her. Meantime, head of the Criminal Investigation Branch, Assistant Commissioner Elon Powell, is reporting a worrying increase in family members hiring criminals to kill their relatives. He did not cite figures, but the ACP is seeking to assure the residents that resources are being allocated to solve these crimes speedily.
Detectives attached to the Major Investigation Task Force, MIT, are seeking the public's assistance in locating 2 witnesses who are vital to a case that is currently before the Halfway Tree Gun Court. They are Romaine Thompson and Demar Evans of Freetown, Clarendon, and Marley Acres, Old Harbour, St. Catherine, and Crescent District, Jamhead, Spanish Town, St. Catherine, respectively. Thompson and Evans are scheduled to appear before the court on Wednesday, November 4 and November 11, respectively. Romaine Thompson and Demar Evans, or anyone knowing their whereabouts, is being asked to contact the Major Investigation Task Force, MIT, at 758-5048, the police 119 emergency number, or the nearest police station.
Director of Community Services at the National Youth Service, NYS, Nikisha Lindsay, says the new summer program implemented will provide more opportunities for youth.
Over the past 3 years, we have gone through a series of changes, which is the adjustment of our programs. Originally, we were known to only cater for unattached young persons, and that was through one of our very prominent programs that was called the CORE program. Over the past 3 years, with the adaptation of a new program under the guidance of our new board, the agency is now seeing itself providing a wider scope of programs catering to a wider cross-section of the youth population in Jamaica.
Ms. Lindsay explains what some of these new programs entail.
What we have done over the past few years is we've increased the intake of our summer program. Our summer program provides a very extensive orientation scope for young persons where work experience is concerned. The aim of our summer program is just to give young persons an introduction to the world of work. And in preparing them, we go through 2 days of orientation, which would see them addressing issues such as work ethics, how you deal with conflict in the workplace, volunteerism, because that is one of the agency's core focus where we encourage volunteerism, how you dress for.
Director of Community Services at the National Youth Service, Nikisha Lindsay, speaking on the evening edition last night.
The Jamaica Fire Brigade, the JFB, is pushing for amendments to the Country Fires Act, the CFA, to increase the penalties for the illegal lighting of fires by mischievous individuals. Assistant Commissioner of the JFB, Sean Martin, says talks are being held with the Chief Legal Officer in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development on the matter. Martin says the fine of $2,000 or 3 months at hard labor provided under the existing legislation is outdated. He argues that the sum is negligible and does not discourage illegal burning, which has serious environmental, economic, and health implications. He says the brigade hopes that the amendments will make prosecution easier and the fines heavier for those who light illegal fires, especially when it puts lives and communities at risk.
The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has approved a disbursement of $8.7 million for Dominica to be drawn from the Rapid Credit Facility, the RCF. According to Deputy Managing Director and Acting Chair Mitsuhiro Furusawa, the decision was impacted by the effect of Tropical Storm Erika on Dominica in August, resulting in significant loss of life and substantial damage to physical infrastructure. He says the recovery and rehabilitation costs will be substantial. putting tremendous pressure on already challenging fiscal balance payments position. Furusawa says fiscal policies will accommodate an increase in reconstruction spending over the medium term, expected to be mostly grant financed, while the underlying policies are being appropriately refocused. He says authorities have committed to generating robust primary surpluses over the medium term to ensure downward debt dynamics. The RCF provides immediate financial assistance with limited conditionality to low-income countries with an urgent balance of payments need. It's expected to address the underlying balance of payments difficulties and support policy objectives, including macroeconomic stability and poverty reduction. That's local and regional news. For international news, we join the BBC.
BBC News. Major backers of the warring factions in Syria have been holding preliminary discussions in Vienna ahead of Friday's substantive talks on the crisis. Putting aside their opposing stances on the conflict, Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif met his U.S. counterpart John Kerry. It's Iran's first such involvement in negotiations on the Syrian crisis. Men armed with knives have attacked a rally held by the main opposition National League for Democracy in Myanmar's largest city, Yangon. The NLD candidate for the area has been taken to hospital with injuries to his head and hands. The attack comes 10 days before Myanmar's first openly contested election in 25 years. The Conservative Republican politician Paul Ryan has been elected Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. He replaces John Boehner, who resigned last month after facing numerous Republican revolts. In his acceptance speech, Paul Ryan described the House as broken. The 45-year-old is well known for his health and fitness regime. The body of a boy has been found in a car near Berlin. It's thought to be that of a 4-year-old refugee named Mohammed. Last month, CCTV captured a man leading him away from a refugee registration centre. A German man has confessed to the murder. A corruption watchdog says nearly all countries in the Middle East and North Africa have opaque defence budgets with almost no parliamentary accountability. Transparency International says secrecy remains the norm in the region, and the ensuing corruption was having a big impact on the rise of terrorism. Researchers say they've made significant advances in overcoming current limitations in lithium-oxygen battery technology. The announcement raises hope of much more fuel-intensive batteries to replace lithium-ion cells. BBC News.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newscast 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall and this are the news in the Jamaican language. The Senate today make opposition Senator Marlene Malaro Ford can come back in there. This one little before 12, but the Senate still could start back same way. The Senator then been planned for debate on the 3 bill what would have met the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, take over for the Privy Council as the last court in the country. Senator A.J. Nicholson and Senator K.D. Knight were called on the Senate for stop Malaro Ford last week, being asked to come back. The government sent them, so they want to start back talk about the CCJ Privy Council matter tomorrow. The Independent Commission for Investigation, INDECOM, are looking at one in one crash between one bike man and one police car in a Negril, Westmoreland yesterday. The dead man, a 26-year-old Noval McInnes, who come from Redgrung in a Negril. Some people been blocked off the non-parallel road in front of the police station and being a cause. As according to INDECOM, the report of the police give them different from what the people they must say, but McIntosh been try overtake the police car and the bike get away from him and run in the police car. The people they must say no go so. The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, will get 17 new trucks for help them collect garbage. Senator Sandra Falconer with the Information Center said Cabinet give out one contract for them get the truck them. She said from 2013, the NSWMA been use some subcontractors to help them collect garbage because them have around 126 trucks. News from the rest of the Caribbean. The IMF Executive Board agreed to give the Dominican government US $8.7 million for help them out. They are going to take the money from the Rapid Credit Facility, RCF. These are the money where the IMF for lend country will get mashed up from natural disaster. As according to the Deputy Managing Director for the IMF, them do this cause them see how tropical storm Erica Ben mash up the country bad and kill off enough people. On top of that, them say it will cost enough for fix up back the country and the government not have that the money right now. News and foreign. The Saudi Arabian government said Iran must accept that President Bashar al-Assad must leave the work as president for Syria for the civil war stop down there. The foreign minister for Saudi Arabia been talk about this at an international foreign affairs meeting were being kept in Vienna. This is the first time Iran take part in one of the meetings. Other countries like Russia and Turkey been there too. But the Iran and Russian governments support the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad. My name is Kadeen Marshall and that are the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newscast 93 FM just get the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon. With your 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM, I am Mikhail Drama Johns and we begin with football. Telecommunications company Digicell's CEO Dennis O'Brien has revealed that its entity Sportsmax has failed to renew their image rights for the English Premier League EPL in the region. According to O'Brien, the failed bid took place just about a month ago.
We bid to where we think economically was viable. Our competitor bid 5 times what we bid. So we kind of said, well, maybe they're seeing something we didn't see.
He says despite the bid which his team didn't see worth a greater bid than they put forward, there are other deals which will suffice.
We have a lot of customers for Sportsmax, but we're now filling it up with Champions League, La Liga, Bundesliga, all that stuff. So, at the end of the day, they have to make it viable. There's no point me losing money on a deal. All you need is 3 or 4 of them and you can wreck your business.
Voice there of Digicel CEO Dennis O'Brien. Meanwhile, Sportsmax's current deal for the English Premier League, otherwise known as the Barclays Premier League, expires September of next year. And the Spanish Premier League season, La Liga, is on a 5-year deal signed early this year, seeing it through to 2020. According to Ambassador Stuart Stevenson, president of the Kingston and St. Andrew Football Association, CASAFA, he has no interest in being president of the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF. Instead, he says focus is completing his 2-year term, which is his 3rd at CASAFA. He added that he aims to have a successful year, his 10th as president and 41st in football administration, after which he will assess the way forward. And further afield, the Football Association FA will investigate the directing of a laser towards Manchester United striker Wayne Rooney during yesterday's League Cup clash with Middlesbrough. A green laser light appeared on the Man U captain's face as he prepared to take a penalty during the shootout defeat at Old Trafford that cost his side a place in the quarterfinals. Rooney's effort was saved by Boro keeper Thomas Mayas as United were beaten 3-1 on penalties following a 0-0 draw after extra time. And the quarterfinals are decided therefore, and we'll see Middlesbrough face Everton. Manchester City are at home to Championship side Hull, while Stoke City, who beat holders Chelsea, host Sheffield Wednesday, who knocked out Arsenal. The only all-Premier League tie sees Southampton host Liverpool, who beat Bournemouth. The last 8 ties begin in the week commencing November 30. Still on football, Arsenal boss Arsene Wenger has confirmed that Theo Walcott and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain will miss the Gunners' next 3 games. They will also miss 2 England internationals, this due to injury. Both players went off in Tuesday's 3-0 League Cup loss to Sheffield Wednesday. Oxlade-Chamberlain suffered a hamstring problem, while his replacement Walcott went off with a calf problem. And still on football, Barcelona's Javier Mascherano has admitted 2 counts of fraud totaling just over 1.5 million euros. The Argentina defender failed to declare 1.5 million euros in earnings in the years 2011 and 2012. He admitted to the charges in a court appearance in Gava near Barcelona, and the player is reported to have repaid 1.75 million euros, the full amount plus interest, and may end up paying a fine and avoiding a trial. Moving on to track and field, Usain Bolt was today bestowed with yet another award, this time the inaugural University of the West Indies UWI Vice Chancellor's Alumni Exemplar Award. It was awarded to him by Professor Sir Hilary Beckles. In giving thanks, the double world record holder said appreciation that is shown for his hard works pushes him to work even harder. He added meanwhile that it is a good feeling while continuing to put his country and by extension the Caribbean on the stage to inspire.
All protocols observed. I must say I'm always honored just to be recognized for all the hard work and what I've done for the country. For me, it's always a pleasure to be presented with awards, and all my friends.
Voice there of Usain Bolt, 100 meters and 200 meters world record holder. And finally, in cricket, after watching West Indies batting failed in both tests, Captain Jason Holder says that department needs to take inspiration from the way the bowling stood up during the series. West Indies were bowled out cheaply in both innings in the opening test in Gale to lose by an innings and 6 runs inside 4 days, and then lost the second game by 72 runs after being set 244 to win. Meanwhile, the Windies women got a good start to their 2020 T20 series versus the Pakistan women, winning their first T20 by 8 wickets. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama John saying stay tuned for the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
And time for business news. On the local stock exchange, the index advanced by 33.96 points today to close at 130,662. The junior market index advanced by 23.19 to close up. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 43 stocks, of which 23 advanced, 13 declined, and 7 traded firm. Market volume amounted to 8.047 million units, valued at over $49.3 million. Lime was today's volume leader. Stocks advancing: Cargo Handlers, Carib Cement, Caribbean Producers, Consolidated Bakeries, D&G, Dolphin Cove, Gleaner, Honeybun, Brawlers Group, JMMB 8.75, Producers Group, Stock Exchange, Kingston Wolves, Knutsford Express, Lasco Distributors, Lasco Manufacturing, Mayberry Investments, NCB, Pulse Investments, Radio Jamaica, Scotia Investments, Seprod, and Supreme Ventures. Stocks declining: AMG Packaging, Berger Paints, Caribbean Cream, Carreras, Grace Kennedy, JMMB Group, Lasco Financial, Lime, Pan Jam Investment, Proven Investments, and Sagicor Group. And on the foreign exchange market, the U.S. dollar closed at $119.71, the pound sterling $182.80, the Canadian $91, and the euro $131.10. That's business news.
And now for a look at the weather. There is a high-pressure ridge across Jamaica which will persist over the Caribbean and Jamaica through to Sunday before weakening. In the forecast for tonight, conditions will be generally fair.
To end the news, the main points. Office of the Prime Minister sets up new framework for the Office of Utilities Regulation to avoid legal challenge.
Opposition senators stay away from today's sitting of the Upper House debate on the CCJ.
Independent Commissioner of Investigations probing the death of motorcyclists following collision with police vehicle in Negril.
And National Youth Service, NYS, says new summer program to provide more opportunities for youth.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup here on News Talk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
The evening edition with Garfield Higgins. Next.